The history of suppression, discrimination, and prejudice against Black Africans is extensive and deeply rooted in various historical, social, and systemic factors. European colonization of Africa aimed at exploiting its resources, justifying the subjugation of Africans by portraying them as primitive, while the slave trade dehumanized Africans and reinforced the perception of them as dangerous. But where do the roots of this hostility towards Black Africans lie? Well, historically speaking, the Black society was much superior than the Arabs and Europeans, with prosperous cities of gold and the lavish lifestyles of citizens. This became the root cause of this jealousy, and the inferiority complex within the hearts of non-Black people was so strong that they decided to portray Black Africans as a backward race and spread the belief that this was a society that needed to be taught the ways of the civilized. This is where the perspective of considering features like dark complexion, plump lips, and natural hair as inferior stems from, rooted in racial ideologies that sought to justify the oppression, subjugation, and dehumanization of Black people. Even today, this bias against Black features is still present, so it has become even more important to remember that these beliefs are the result of deeply entrenched systemic racism, social conditioning, and historical power dynamics that have shaped societal perceptions and norms. So what were the reasons Black Africans were taken to be such a threat to non-Black people? The first reason is the notion of physical superiority of Black people. As everyone knows that Black Africans have exceptional strength, non-Blacks were certain that they would stand no chance if Black Africans were allowed to participate in the war for power, as they would undoubtedly dominate. The easiest way for European colonizers to take Africans out of the power equation was to promote the agenda that Black Africans were physically stronger and hence more suited for labor-intensive tasks, in order to justify the enslavement of millions of African people and their forced labor on plantations and other industries. The idea that physical jobs were inferior while being weak and delicate was a desirable trait for intellectual superiority was definitely favorable for the European colonizers, who even devised more brutal punishment for enslaved people, considering that they were less sensitive to pain. The second reason was the fear of genetic annihilation. Non-Black people knew that if Blacks were allowed to marry into their society, their submissive genes would eventually be wiped out, and Black genes would dominate over time. This was a massive threat even after the slaves were stripped of their basic human rights by following the black blood drop strategy, where anyone with even one drop of Black blood was isolated and clubbed together with other Black people. However, in Latin America and Arab, there are records of people marrying their Black slaves, while their children enjoyed the same rights as other citizens. Keep watching till the end to debunk the myths about the West being the origins of humans and the center of the world. The third reason is that Africa was the cradle of civilization. Both history and science have left no doubt that the first humans emerged in Africa. It was unacceptable to non-Blacks that not only did Black Africans prosper before any other race existed, but most Asians and Europeans developed from Black people. This was backed by genetic analysis which showed that Europeans and Northwest Africans share a genetic similarity of 4 to 20%. The fact that they themselves were the successors of Black people, whom they had been calling backward and primitive for centuries, directly challenges their beloved idea that Europe was the center of the world and shattered their illusions of superiority. And lastly, there is the fact that Africa is the richest continent on Earth in terms of resources. Precious natural resources like gold, gas, diamond, silver, and many other metals were found in Africa in excessive amounts. The writings of Arabs like Al-Fazari paint African society as a phenomenal marvel of wealth and prosperity, which was unacceptable for the non-Blacks. Hence, using the myth of Black people having less cognitive prowess, Europeans exploited the natural resources of Africa for their own benefit. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni revealed that even today France holds 50% of the gold that is rightfully owned by African nations, printing money for these countries in return and essentially reaping unethical benefits for this unequal bargain. Racism and prejudice have perpetrated stereotypes of Black people as violent and aggressive, and understanding this perception requires a nuanced understanding of history and culture. Under the influence of woke culture, there are token Black representatives in media and corporate worlds. But are people willing to give African Blacks their rightful place in society? Comment below and let us know what you think.